What's up everyone, Zero here. Now that I have 135 hours in Path of Exile 2, I wanted to give some feedback. I know that there's been a plethora of these videos that have been going out, but I just wanted to throw my hat in the ring and see if I could give some useful feedback. So I don't want to make it all negative because I absolutely love this game. So I'm just going to sprinkle the negative in with the positive. First thing, I love the monk. The monk is by far the best and most fun melee class that I have ever played in any ARPG, hands down. I'm running a power charge stacking monk right now, and it is insane. It just blasts through maps, and I love it. Tons of crowd control, good damage. Once you get some movement speed, it just feels incredible, and I absolutely love that class. One pain point for me in the maps especially is the obstruction of the environment to where I can't see my character. Since I'm melee with the monk, it's especially painful because I have to be up close. So sometimes I can't see if my character, if there's a projectile headed towards my character from a range mob. It's just something that really needs to be looked at, I feel. I absolutely love the bosses in this game. They are incredible. The mechanics are super fun. They're challenging. You can't just steamroll them right away. So the bosses, especially in the campaign, feel amazing. I know later on in the game you can kind of run over them, but early on in the game it feels great. And maybe if they could scale that up a little bit in the end game, it would feel a lot better. There are also a lot of white mobs I noticed that are super overtuned. They shouldn't be doing that much damage. Like, they're just trash mobs. So maybe the balance of that just needs to be looked at a little bit. The very first act, I feel like, and this might be a very unpopular opinion, but I feel like the very first act, especially right when you land on the riverbank, needs to be tuned down just a little bit. I've heard multiple stories, and I don't know if this is just like the few people that I saw, like some kind of bias in my observations, but I noticed there were some people that were saying that they couldn't even get into town and they just quit. So I really feel like the very beginning of the game should be more of like a tutorial rather than just like mobs that just face roll you. Maybe do it to like where they had in PoE 1, right? You land on the beach, you fight Hillock. He's not that challenging unless it's like a challenge league from Zizarin or something. But he's not that challenging. And I really feel like that should be the introduction. Yeah, leave the boss there, but don't make it so hard to where brand new people can't get into town. And yes, a lot of this is a skill issue. I'm aware of that. But I really feel like that should be looked at. Maybe use that time in like the first couple of zones just to kind of introduce brand new characters to the mechanics, the skills, like maybe how to use the currency. I've seen a lot of people mention like a crafting quest. That's a really good idea. Maybe just use those few zones just to kind of get people acclimated to the systems of the game. Just a suggestion. I mean, obviously the experienced players don't have problems with it. I didn't have problems with it. You know, I have about 2,500 hours in PoE 1, and now I have 135 hours in this game. So obviously I wasn't running any issues with it, but I really feel like that should just be for new players. Maybe, I mean, this is probably going to be really unpopular, but maybe offer some kind of like difficulty setting for brand new players. Maybe like a trial mode or something where they could go through the first act on like a super easy mode or something. I don't know, but just to kind of get them used to the combat and stuff. The campaign is fucking incredible. I hated it at first because of how long it was, but we obviously didn't know all the stuff that you could just skip, so I was like doing everything. I was checking out all the zones. I am now on my 4th character that I'm running through the campaign, and right now I am in Act 3 Cruel. So Act 6, and this is my Pathfinder. I'm working on a poison concoction build, and I am able to do it in right around 15 hours now. I feel like I can shave 5 more hours off that, and I think I could get it down to 10. I know that Jonathan had mentioned that Neon was doing it in about 5, so obviously that's possible if that's true. I want to run a couple more characters through. I'm going to play every class, so I want to run a couple more characters through through and just see if I can get down to that time. It's a really fun goal I'm going to try to achieve. However, I think for the average player that might want to play multiple characters, they might want to take a look at some of the zones, especially in Act 2 and 3, that are just massive. Because you got to imagine, right? If you're an average player, you're going to come in here every league and play a 30-40 hour campaign. I mean, that's crazy to think that somebody who's just, you know, kind of a casual person, that they're going to even want to do that. Obviously, they're really set on not giving a campaign skip, and I'm totally okay with that. I actually love the PoE 1 campaign. According to my guild, I'm kind of mentally ill when it comes to that, but I love the lab too. So apparently I have a little bit of a strange taste for PoE 1. But the campaign, I feel like it's great. I just, maybe if they just shaved like 40% off of some of the zones in Act 2 and 3, it would be a little bit more manageable for people. I'm going to be coming out with a speed run guide soon. So hopefully I'll be able to throw in some feedback on how to get through it efficiently. Couple things about ascendancies. The ascendancies being locked behind the trial of Sekima and the ultimatum is kind of crazy. And what I think happened, because I really don't think that they believe that people were going to want to do that for their ascendancy. I really don't. What I think happened is that they just started working on the end game fairly recently because they wanted to have it ready for early access instead of the actual 6 acts. So what I think happened is those were the 2 mechanics that they had done, and that they didn't have any other options for the ascendancies. So hopefully, with all the negative feedback that they're getting about that, they will change it. I really feel like they need to at least remove the honor system when it comes to the bosses in Sanctum, and then it wouldn't be so bad. It would obviously be long, but it wouldn't be so bad. And I'm aware that you can get relics. I mean, obviously I did my ascendancies on my monk, and I've done the ascendants, the first 2 on this one. Obviously 3 and 4 aren't going to be that big of a deal because I'm doing a poison range build, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. But for the people especially that are melee, the honor system is pretty brutal. So maybe what they could do is, once they start adding some more mechanics into the game, is they could just switch it, or just come up with something different entirely. I don't know exactly what they're cooking, but I'm sure that they'll do something about it. But just wanted to throw that out there. The other thing about ascendancies is certain ascendancies really need some work. Like, I was running a blood mage, and I really feel like that ascendancy is just completely useless. I've noticed that there's kind of like this cookie cutter approach right now to certain builds, and I know that's how it always is. Kind of like there's like the meta, that's what everybody's playing, but it's kind of different. And what I think it is the fact that we just don't have all the skill gems yet. I'm sure once they start adding in more supports and they start adding in the different weapons types, that this is not going to be an issue. I also know that that's the same thing with the skill tree, because right now the skill tree I feel is a little bit bland, but I know that once they start adding in all the other classes, that stuff's probably going to change quite a bit. So I'm aware that this is early access, so just wanted to throw that out there. The certain ascendancies really need some work. And the other thing, the final thing about ascendancies, is that not being able to respec your ascendancy is a massive L to me. One of the coolest things about PoE 1, you could kind of test different things out and find out what you liked better. But in this game, in PoE 2, you are locked once you choose your ascendancy, and you cannot change it no matter what. I really feel like that needs to be switched. I feel like, especially since it's early access, a lot of the ascendancies, they're really undertuned, and I feel like giving players option to do that would not only respect their time, but it would allow for more build diversity and stuff, and people wouldn't just be stuck playing one ascendancy. They could test out different things, so it would probably add to the build discovery a little bit in early access. Last point I'm going to touch on is crafting. Now, I was kind of on the fence about this, but crafting in PoE 1 is something that's really special to me. I really love that mechanic. I love that you can look at an item, and there is a certain set of steps that you can do to recreate that item, no matter what it is. It might cost a lot of currency and a lot of farming, and there might be a big time investment, but you can get there if you want. The way that they did crafting in this game, it's pretty much just RNG based. Yeah, I'm aware that you can use 2 omens at a time. You can remove prefixes, you can remove the suffixes off of an item, you can kind of guide the craft to where you want it, but a lot of it is left up to RNG. And the fact that you are stuck, if you brick an item, you can't scour it at all. So, from my understanding, you just have to find a brand new base. Now, maybe there are certain things that you can do with the omens. I haven't really gotten to that point yet. Obviously, I haven't seen very many of them drop. But maybe there's certain things you could do where you could just like wipe the suffixes again. I'm not really sure exactly how that's working right now. I probably should check out Belton. Belton's usually first when it comes to crafting things. So maybe I'll check out his channel. But from what I understand, it's all pretty much RNG. And especially in the campaign. You barely get any essences. The only options that you have are transmute, aug, and then if you have some exalts, you can exalt it. You can regal it. You can exalt it if you have them. And then that's it. If you don't get what you want, you're shit out of luck. And that kind of feels like dog shit, because in PoE 1, you would go through the campaign, you would find essences that would guarantee max life or guarantee a certain resistance. And the way that the resistances work in this game, they're so hard to come by. If you're not trading, I mean, you're pretty much shit out of luck. So I really feel like they should bring back some of the deterministic crafting. I really feel like that was an amazing thing and what made PoE 1 so special. I was really, really fond of that, and that's probably why it's my favorite game of all time. Just some feedback after playing 135 hours. I'm going to be coming out with some guides, some speed running guides. I'm going to do a guide on the Trial of Secamus and see if I can provide some useful information on that stuff. I'm also working on this build right here, this poisonous concoction build. I really think it's going to be fun. I also have a really good idea for the bleeding concoction too. So if you guys like any of my videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's a great help to me being a small creator. And I will try to be pumping out the content this week and next week. Try to get you guys out some good walkthroughs and some guides, especially if you're new. So yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.